Your doctor isn't doing anything wrong, but they were trained to treat organs, not people, not systems, and not the one thing that is quietly failing underneath all your diagnosis. And until someone looks at that one thing, nothing changes. Nothing. I've watched people suffer for years with a problem that once you find it, takes months to reverse. And that's what I want to talk about today.
Welcome to the Unhealthcare Podcast. I am Sanskriti, your host, and the reason why we started this show is because I keep having conversations with people who are successful, who are doing all the right things, who are seeing every specialist they are supposed to see, and they were still not okay. None of them knew why. Today's conversation might finally give those people an answer. My guest for today is Mugdha Pradhan, who is a CEO and founder of iThrive, a functional nutritionist and someone who has spent years asking the question no one else has asked. So, Mugdha, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Sanskriti.
So, I want to start with something like which is very basic and people will relate to that you need coffee to start your day, you need sugar to get through your afternoon, and something to come down at night. So, is this actually a problem? And people just, they think that this is who I am now. Or is this actually a modern way of living?
Um, I really want to say that something is wrong if you're living like this, okay? But I want to talk about something else before we get to the science of why I'm calling it wrong, because I think it matters. Now, if this description that you just gave fits anyone who's listening and it felt uncomfortably specific, or if you just had that moment of, oh, that's me, I want you to notice that feeling, okay? That recognition in your body, that slight tightening or release, because that's your body saying it already knows something is off. It's been trying to tell you, and for most people, it's been a long time since someone actually listened to this message. Yeah, but we'll get to why this is wrong.
I think this is a very different start to the conversation.
Because usually this conversation starts with convincing you something is wrong, right? And I don't need to convince anyone today. I think you already know. The question is why and what to do about it. And that's what we are here for today, Sanskriti.
So walk me through like if somebody is seeing this podcast, who are they? What is how does their day look like?
Well, they wake up tired, not the I didn't sleep well tired, but tired before the day has even begun. They get up, and the first thought is already about how they're going to get through the day. Coffee isn't optional. It's the thing that's standing between them and not being able to function. By 2 p.m. in the afternoon, there's like a fog. It's not even sleepiness. It's kind of a dullness, like thinking through cotton. They might snap at someone and not even know why. They might sit in their car for an extra few minutes before going into work just so that they can breathe in that space.
I think I've heard that from so many people.
And you know why? Because that car is the only place where nothing is required of them. And that alone tells me so much, right? These are not people who are struggling because they're weak or undisciplined.
Mhm.
These are some of the most determined, high functioning, high achieving people I know. They are running on will for years. And will is not infinite, it runs out. And when it does, the body, which has been quietly just holding everything together, no, it just starts speaking louder.
And then what happens?
It sounds like collecting diagnoses and labels from different doctors. First, maybe it's your thyroid, your levels are borderline, then anxiety, and then like a lot of people your age are experiencing this. Then PCOS or IBS or insomnia, each one in like a separate file, managed by a separate specialist with a separate prescription. And the person is doing everything right, okay? They're taking the prescription, the medication, they're following their protocols, and yet they're sitting in the car at the end of the day wondering when they're going to start feeling better.
And I think somewhere down the line they just feel that this is who I am now. That this is the new normal.
And they just think that's their identity
That's
now,
their
right?
identity, yeah.
And I want to say something directly to that person right now. If that is you, if some part of you has quietly accepted that exhausted, foggy, not quite right is your normal now, I need you to hear this, okay? This is not your normal. That is not who you are. That is a system under stress that nobody has looked at in the right way yet. You are not broken. You are not making it up. You are not just stressed. Something very specific is happening in your biology. It has a name, it has a solution, and you deserve to know what it is.
Okay, then tell me what it is actually.
Let me tell you about someone I worked with, okay? I'll call her Pooja,
Okay.
42 years old, techie, leadership role, two kids. From the outside, everything is working. From the inside, she described it to me like it feels like I'm watching my life from behind a frosted glass.
Okay, that's a very specific example.
Yeah, but it's like, it's the one I hear the most, Sanskriti, actually, right? Like you're present, but you're not fully there. You're capable, but you're not quite alive. She had three diagnoses by the time she came to us: hypothyroid, depression, insomnia, three different medications. She had seen an endocrinologist, a psychiatrist, a sleep specialist. She had tried keto, she had tried intermittent fasting, and every specialist that she saw treated one piece of the puzzle.
Was anything left? I mean,
And nobody ever, like, put together those puzzles and said, wait, what if this is one thing and not three separate things?
why did nobody do that?
I think the system is not built to look for one thing. It's kind of built to manage the symptoms, like, oh, this, let me give this pill. But in her case, when we ran the organic acid test for her, a functional test that shows how your cells are actually making energy, we saw it immediately. Her mitochondria, okay, like we've heard about this word in school. So her mitochondria, her cellular batteries, the power plants that are there in every single cell inside our body, they were depleted. And when that happens, it's like the battery is dying, no? Everything, thyroid function, neurotransmitter production, hormonal regulation, sleep, everything downstream was starting to fail. Not because Pooja had three different diseases, but because she had one broken system.
What happened when you fixed the system?
Well, within 3 months, she was off the sleeping pills. Her energy started coming back. And it was not the forced energy of, oh, I drank coffee and I'm just feeling so buzzed. It was real energy that was there when she woke up. And she told me, like, I drove to work last Tuesday and I actually realized I didn't stop in the car first. I just went into work. And it was a small thing, okay? It was a tiny moment, but it meant everything to her because now she knew what it feels like to have real energy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's small. It is everything that she's been working on. I mean, that's kudos to you. I want to understand from the basics, like what is mitochondria, like besides the powerhouse of the cell, but like why is it failing and why are people not testing for it? And I think this is going to be the most important part from the podcast. So stick with us.
All right. You know that feeling when your phone is at 100% charge versus 10%? So at 100%, it's doing everything fast, responsive, all apps are working, everything is like nice, screen is bright. At 10, it's sluggish, okay? It starts switching things off to survive. Notifications stop, the screen dims. Certain apps will not work at all when low battery is there. Now, the phone is not broken, it just does not have enough power.
I think it's very relatable.
Yeah?
Day to day thing.
So, your mitochondria are like the chargers inside of your cells, okay? So, every single one of your 37 trillion cells in your body has them. And they're so beautiful, okay? Because they take the food you eat, the air you breathe, and they convert it into something called as ATP,
Okay.
which is cellular energy. Now, it's the fundamental fuel that runs everything: your heartbeat, your thoughts, your hormones, your digestion, your immunity. Every single process requires this ATP. So, when your mitochondria are working well, you will have full battery, like your phone at 100%. You can think clearly, you can feel emotionally regulated, move without effort, sleep deeply. Like your phone is working well. When they start failing, you're running your entire life at 10%. Like imagine all your apps are failing because your battery is permanently at 10%. That is what it is.
It can happen slowly, like without even you noticing it.
It is, okay, and it's like a super gradual process, which is why people start adapting to it. They just they just start accepting less. They forget what 100% felt like. They think, okay, I'm getting older. Maybe I'm not a morning person. We've heard that from so many people in our team also, right? Like, I'm not a morning person. Maybe this is adulthood. Like, all the millennials are calling it adulting. I'm just wondering, what if the millennials are having a mitochondrial collapse and they're thinking it's adulting? But underneath this, now this acceptance of, oh, maybe it's just age or maybe it's just becoming an adult, the battery is draining, and three things drain it predominantly. One is nutrient deficiencies, because you need your mitochondria especially needs specific fuels that most people are really running low on. And then toxic overload, so environmental chemicals, chronic stress, gut dysbiosis, they damage the machinery directly. And inflammation, okay, that's driving something called as oxidative stress, that's kind of rusting that power plant from inside. So the battery is getting rusted from inside.
Okay, so it happens to different people. Why does it show up as different diseases?
Because, see, different organs have different energy demands. Now, your brain is 2% of your body weight, but it actually uses 20% of your total energy. I think most people, there are some people, I doubt how much your energy is using. But like, speaking of the high performers and the people that we are really concerned about, brain needs that much energy. The heart never rests. Your reproductive system is making hormones that needs enormous amounts of energy to produce. So when the battery starts dying, what fails first really depends on where your personal weak link is, like genetically, or what harm might have happened in the past. That's why when one person gets depression and brain fog, another could get PCOS, a third could get IBS. Now, these look like three different diseases, but it's one dying battery showing up in three different places.
So walk me through the range of mitochondrial failure at different parts of the body. What does it look like?
So I'll make this simpler by putting it in three tiers, okay? Now, tier one is what most people are living with right now and calling it their normal or aging or adulting. Chronic fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, depression, weight that won't move despite doing everything right. Your brain doesn't have enough energy to make serotonin, and no antidepressant is going to fix that at the root. You cannot manufacture neurotransmitters without fuel. So you stay medicated and functional, but never actually well. Now, tier two would be where diagnoses start. Okay, so PCOS, your ovaries don't have enough energy to regulate hormonal cycles. IBS, your gut lining is breaking down with that energy to maintain it. Migraines, where your brain is literally screaming for ATP. Sleep disorders, because even sleep architecture requires energy to run properly. Now, these are not separate diseases, but the labels have begun in tier two. They are the same power failure in different rooms of the same house. So that is tier two. Tier three is the most dangerous one. And this is what happens if we don't address this failure. Because heart disease is one of the most mitochondria dense organs, okay, your heart. And heart disease can happen in tier three. It can fail. Alzheimer's, which is now being called type 3 diabetes, it's a fundamental brain energy crisis. Cancer, can you believe that? Cancer, and Otto Warburg actually won a Nobel Prize for showing that cancer cells have severely damaged mitochondria. These big diseases, okay, now these are not inevitable fates, but it's like tier 1 starts where tier 1 is not controlled, then tier 2, and if tier 2 is not controlled, tier 3 can happen.
So when we sit under tier 1 and we say that this is who I am now, we are not just accepting the discomfort, but we leave a root cause running.
And I mean, absolutely, the tragedy is tier 1 is the fastest and the easiest to reverse. It's like the base, right? That's where the greatest leverage is, and that's exactly where we want to work.
So help me understand, how does one have 10 diagnoses from one single problem?
Imagine you've walked into a hospital, you're exhausted, you have brain fog, your periods are irregular, your digestion is a mess, you can't sleep, you've gained weight, you feel anxious for no reason. Your doctor runs standard blood tests, refers you to 5 specialists. You walk out with hypothyroid, anxiety disorder, PCOS, IBS, 5 diagnoses, 5 medications, 5 separate treatment plans. that don't even speak to each other. But here is the truth your doctor was never trained to see. You don't have five diseases, you have just one broken system. Your thyroid cannot make hormones without ATP, that energy. Your ovaries cannot regulate your cycle without energy. Your gut cannot maintain its lining without ATP. Your brain cannot produce serotonin, the thing your antidepressant is supposed to boost, without energy. Everything downstream of mitochondria will malfunction when the mitochondria malfunction. And when you restore that one thing, na, that mitochondria, tiny thing, that battery, all those separate diseases start resolving at the same time.
Why is and like nobody testing for this?
I think that's because conventional medicine was kind of built to diagnose disease, not to optimize function. And by the time your standard blood panel flags something like, oh, this is completely off, you've often been sick for many, many years. So they are kind of measuring the aftermath. We measure the engine. And that's the entire difference between what we do at iThrive and what the system, the conventional system, currently offers.
So now we know what's wrong and what the system actually is missing. But how can one correct it? Like many people who are listening who might relate to this problem that yes, this is who I am or how I am facing the similar symptoms.
So, see, the gold standard for seeing what's happening at the cellular level. I mean, blood tests are important for sure, but the gold standard is this test called the Organic Metabolomics test, or the OMX. It's a simple urine plus plasma test that you do at home. But what shows up is extraordinary. Okay, it maps the metabolic byproducts of your cells, whatever they're producing, which tells us precisely how efficiently your mitochondria are running, where the deficiencies are, what is creating oxidative stress, how your neurotransmitter pathways look. It's like switching on the lights in a room that's been dark for years, and you can suddenly see exactly what you're dealing with. So, that is the first step, I would say.
And the doctors don't run this for a matter of course.
They don't even know this test exists actually, and it requires a specialist interpretation, um which is why even if someone randomly orders it, they still won't know what it means. Okay, they still need someone who can read it functionally, who can flag not just what's abnormal but also understand what the whole picture means. Now once we have the roadmap, then restoration has four pillars and a fifth secret one, but four main pillars that we use for most clients. What is the first one? It's about recharging the battery. Okay, so therapeutic doses of specific nutrients that the mitochondria need, magnesium in forms that actually absorb, bioavailable B vitamins, individual or as a B vitamin supplement together, CoQ10, PQQ, antioxidants, phosphatidylcholine, not a generic multivitamin. And these molecules in the right forms at therapeutic doses is what starts triggering they start charging the battery again. Second, remove what's draining it. Okay, so gut dysbiosis, inflammatory foods, environmental toxins, chronic stress. We stop the leak before we start refilling all these lovely nutrients. Third, optimize the inputs. So, nutrient dense whole foods, strategic fasting wherever possible, deep sleep, the right exercise that's going to actually create more energy instead of depleting you. So, a protocol that's built around what your data shows. Fourth pillar is actually building new mitochondria. Okay, so we stimulate what is called as mitochondrial biogenesis, activating a pathway that literally grows new healthy power plants inside your cells. It could be high interval HIIT, or it could be cold exposure, fasting, specific compounds like NAD plus or NMN, which are going to trigger mitochondrial biogenesis. This is where actually people are now not really managing a disease, but the disease is getting reversed. Fifth, peptides. It's not for everyone. It's still very niche, but it's my personal favorite because the degree of transformation that they can create is just at another like exponential level. But we'll keep the peptide conversation for another time, not today. But these five pillars.
And how long does it take to work?
People usually feel the first real shift within the first 2 or 4 weeks. Sleep quality first, then energy improves. By month 2 or 3, bigger changes begin to happen, right? Like weight starts moving, mood starts stabilizing, clarity starts returning. Month 4 to 6, we actually start seeing changes in lab work itself. Thyroid starts becoming better, inflammation comes down. I mean, I'm speaking of like tier 2 or tier 3 kind of disease where it takes so long. Tier 1 we'll be able to solve it within the first 3 months. So by 6 to 12 months, if it's a tier 3, we start seeing a lot of reversal of conditions that people have been managing for years. And this is not suppression, this is reversal. It's so different from medicating yourself.
So now I want to understand that how does the iThrive process work? Like, what is the user experience? Like, if somebody is unwell, what are the changes he goes through? Like, emotionally, what shifts within them?
Uh, I think the first thing that people almost always say is, I forgot what felt like to feel like myself again, which tells you something, right? They'd stopped expecting it. They'd quietly filed away the version of themselves that woke up with energy and excitement and wanted to do things. Felt present in conversations, that had energy left at the end of the day. They thought that version was gone. I mean, to come back to that version of yourself is pretty incredible.
Yeah, and like, what happens when it comes back?
And it's not dramatic, and that's what surprises people, right? It's not like suddenly one day you suddenly are like a different person. It's quiet, it's gentle, but it's I woke up and I wasn't immediately counting down when I can get back to bed.
Wow.
And it's I was in a meeting and I had a thought and I said it without second guessing whether I had the energy to deal with the response. It's My kids asked me to play and I said yes and I really meant it. Now, Pooja, the client I told you about, she told me something I've never really forgotten. And she said, last week I drove to work and I just didn't sit in the car at first. I just went in, right? And I didn't even notice this until the evening. And I actually cried because she was like, I thought that version of myself was gone permanently.
I mean, that's the whole thing, what she was dealing with.
And it is everything, right? It's not about the blood markers, it's not about the weight, it's not about any of that. It's about getting back to a version of your life where you're actually in it, present, alive, and engaged. And that's what health actually is. And that's what we've been trying to give people at iThrive, right? Not management, but life, like the full force of life flowing through you all of the time.
If someone is listening and thinking what they really need, what does the journey look like?
Ah. So we've kind of built what we call as the full stack. Um, how do I put it? A full stack healing ecosystem. Okay.
Yeah.
So we are not just going to give you information and wish you all the best. We sit in the process with you. We are there with you. We're present with you. So I Thrive Alive is our one-on-one clinical consultative program where you work directly with the functional nutrition team. We run the comprehensive test, blood work, gut, the OMX test, genetics if needed, interpret the results, build a fully personalized protocol, and guide you through every step. Now, this is not like a yellow diet and goodbye. It's a usually a 3-month journey, sometimes 6 months, where we are with you every moment. And then there's iThrive Essentials, right, which is the supplements we've created because we couldn't really find anything clean enough for our clients. So our supplements are clean, like no fillers, no binders, no synthetic forms that the body can't use. And every formulation is designed to actually reach the cell. And then there's our baby, iThrive Academy, which is for practitioners who want to learn functional nutrition. And we've trained over 1,000 students across India and globally now. So they learn how to do what I'm talking about.
So, for our viewers, what is the first step you would recommend?
So my first recommendation always is data, right? So your blood test, your OMX, genetics if possible. But let's say you don't want to invest in all of that yet. You just want to get a sense if this is really what the problem is for you. You could start with our mitochondrial health assessment. It's on the website. We'll put the link in the whatever. What's the thing?
Description.
It takes 2 minutes, but it gives you a score and it tells you how likely it is that mitochondrial dysfunction is driving what you're experiencing. If you already have blood work, and even if your doctor said everything is fine, submit it to the email ID mentioned below. Our team will review it through a functional nutrition lens and get back to you with an assessment at no cost. Because honestly, what we found is people have been sitting on this evidence with their data for years without really exactly knowing what's going on or without having anyone to even interpret it correctly.
Okay, so before we close, I want to ask you, you have worked with so many people. If you've reversed maybe 100 people diseases,
Thousands.
thousands, yeah. So what keeps you going and why did you actually, start this?
Well, how do I put it? See, what keeps me going, no, despite all the chaos and the adversity, all of that, is this particular kind of grief that comes with unnecessary suffering.
Yeah.
I've sat across people who have been sick for 10 years, 20 years, who spent hundreds and thousands of rupees on medications and specialists, who have quietly given up on feeling well. And that is the thing that undoes me every time, right? Like when they come in the consult, they apologize. They apologize for not being better yet, apologizing for not being okay. And what I really want to say to them, every single one of them, and to everyone listening right now, that you were never the problem. The system that told you your labs are normal, it's just stress, try harder, that system has failed you, not the other way around. You don't need to apologize for your symptoms. You need someone who can finally look in the right place.
So, how do you want people to feel after this conversation? Like, what should they walk away with?
I want them to feel that maybe for the first time in a long time, that there is a path forward that actually makes sense. Okay. Not another protocol that you have to get through with force. Not another thing to add to your list of things that they're supposed to be better at, but a genuine understanding of what is happening in their body and a real possibility of reversing it. That is what I want them to feel. And I want them to feel something else. Um, that, they're not alone in this, because so much of chronic illness is isolating. You look fine, but people don't understand why you're tired again. You stop explaining it, you just start carrying it. And I want this to what I really want, na Sanskruti, this conversation, I want this to be the moment when someone feels like, oh, someone really actually gets it. Like someone has been sitting with people who feel exactly this way for years, and those people actually got better. That is what I want people to feel.
Yeah, that's why we've actually started this show. So, Mugdha, thank you so much for having this conversation with us. And, I don't want to sound dramatic, but, something within me has actually shifted. And for the people, our viewers, I think they can relate to the similar thing that something within them must have also shifted.
Yeah, I'm really happy if that happens.
For everyone who's been sitting with us, and I know some of you have been sitting with the version of what Mugdha described for a very long time, take the assessment. Check the description below for the links that you guys may find interesting. If this episode reaches you, please share it with someone who you think needs it. You never know who's sitting in the car all alone. I am Sanskriti, and thank you for listening to the Unhealthcare podcast. See you next time.